buy yourself a gun. What? A gun? Oh. What? Like a handgun for personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle and a lot of ammo. Gun?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is PrimerTime. My name is Michael.
And I'm Nicholas. How you doing, Mike?
Nick, what's going on with you?
Oh, loving the change in the weather. It's the first day of fall.
Dude, I'll tell you what, it's been pretty nice here. It's been, I've sweat through less shirts in the last week than I have in the past couple months, that's for sure.
Well, I tell you what, nothing beats hearing on the radio that the high is going to be in the low 70s.
Oh, yeah. That's some nice news right there. What's your water content like right now? Because we're pretty moist. I've got a lot of water in the yard, and I wouldn't call it a moat, but short people who can't swim can't get across.
That means Cubans shouldn't go to your yard.
Yeah, Cubans can swim.
Oh, I thought they needed an inner tube.
Well, sometimes they can hook up an old Chevy truck and get that thing across.
I saw the bus. There
is some innovation out there. 56 Chevy and some 55-gallon drums and a little bit of Bondo. I think you're set.
Yeah, that'll work.
Make sure you stop at Bato Zone and get yourself some stick-on bling.
Some spinners.
Whatever. I mean, I think you should get some speed holes. I mean, at this point, I'm looking more for performance stick-on items, such as like portholes to increase the airflow rather than spinners.
Yeah, you're going to also need to get yourself the snorkel kit for your exhaust.
I would get the stick-ons that say 4x4. Those may help.
Yeah, with the mud flap girl.
Hey, I would be in trouble if I said La Santa de los Pintas or something like that.
Yeah, you don't want to go there.
That would be wrong.
So
and a shout out to all the single moms working hard tonight.
Remember to tip your waitress.
So, other than nice weather and I don't know what your mosquito population is like, but
the mosquito population
410 shells are low here.
Yeah, the mosquito population took a serious hit in the last 2 nights because we dropped down to the low 40s.
Oh, I would pray for that. Because it's become like a nightly duel between the mosquitoes and the dragonflies. And I made a road trip, and since this is PrimerTime and puppies for a while, I dropped off puppies with with a good friend of ours and a friend of the show, Captain Gringo, and I hit a dragonfly on the way home, and It was like somebody threw a milkshake on my windshield.
I really don't think in your area that you can hit the dragonfly. I think the dragonfly hit you.
Yeah, I had better armament, I think. I mean, I admire his tenacity because he really
Yeah,
tried.
yeah. Isn't that some stuff? Well, check this out. You're talking about the amount of precipitation we've had lately. Really haven't had a whole lot to speak of, but what we have had is like evening cloud breaks, and it'll sprinkle for 15, 20 minutes. We'll get a lot of wind, but by the time we wake up in the morning, all those clouds have blown through. So we got a nice little layer of moisture in the air, but nothing significant that's sticking around and causing the mosquito population to boom up.
Our mosquitoes are wild, so let me ask you, with your little change in the weather, what is that doing for your wildlife and your possible hunting opportunities?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's getting easier to hunt things on the side of the interstate because I have noticed the amount of roadkill has just ballooned in the last couple days.
I would be wary of Virginia roadside sausage at this point.
Yeah, well, we're not that
I
far
would be
from.
wary of any kind of tube meats being sold from the trunk of any vehicle along the side of the road in Virginia.
Yeah, we're very close to West Virginia where I'm at, so they
I think we
they
should
actually.
have a PrimerTime pro tip: never take tube meats from strange men.
That's sage advice. I tell you what, no, the deer are actually moving around, going to work, coming home from work. I'm seeing a lot of does and their yearlings, and they're just on the sides of the interstate. So, folks driving at dawn or at dusk, they're starting to get a little wary out here. There was a collision with a deer on one of the major
Well,
roads.
we're looking at about a week till deer season.
Depending upon where you're at, deer season,
10 days, 2 weeks,
yeah,
something like that.
Deer season is going on for archery where I'm at. So, a lot of folks have already
But
picked up some early bucks.
what I'm talking about is when the world's largest sniper army moves into the American wilderness in the most safe manner of any army ever assembled.
You're usually looking around
right?
the middle of October.
Okay, so we're about maybe less than a month away.
Yeah, 3 weeks out or so.
What are you seeing as far as private sales of rifles in your area and the availability of hunting ammunition and optics?
Well,
because optics seem to rise at this time.
They do.
For some reason, that Zeiss scope that was $5.99 just a couple of months ago, maybe $7.99 right now.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what. Zeiss just put out an ad that they had their Conquest line that they were given $150 off. So that is definitely in anticipation of the upcoming hunting season. And, person-to-person sales are heating up. At work, we have a bulletin board, electronic bulletin board that we can post stuff to. And I've seen a lot of firearms go on there in the last couple of days. One of my colleagues, he picked up what was advertised as a Mossberg Model 500, went to pick it up, did a quick inspection on it, and found it was a Model 835 Mossberg in the mossy oak camo pattern. So for those who don't know, the Mossberg Model 835 is capable of shooting the 3.5-inch Magnum shells.
And it's also got a significant difference as it's in the semi-automatic version. That is, it's an automatic shotgun.
No. This one is a pump.
Oh, the 835 is a pump. I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The 835 is a pump. It's very, very similar to the Mossberg 500 that I have. The only difference is that he got it at a significantly reduced price versus buying new. So
that pays to take a look at what's stamped on the barrel.
It does, and like I said, I think we've covered it once before in a previous episode of Primer Time. Is that sometimes people they don't necessarily do the homework and they don't do the research on what they have or what they want to get, and people will unfortunately either spend too much for something or they will sell it for too little.
That is very common, and also on the converse side of that, somebody may have something that's a pile of crap, and they may ask far too much for it.
Ooh, that sounds like any gun show.
I'm telling you. When was the last time you were at a gun show?
Yeah, I haven't been able to get to a gun show since I've been back in the States. So one of the things that I really want to do, either coming up over the Thanksgiving time break or maybe even closer to December.
There will be plenty, because the holiday shopping season is upon us, as the Halloween Santa that has appeared in many of the local stores is telling us. The holiday season is upon us.
Oh, it is. I can't remember where exactly I was at. I was out shopping with my wife, and we were looking for something, and we were surprised that there was no Halloween decorations out, but there were Christmas decorations already in the stores.
There's a small section of Thanksgiving stuff, and there's Halloween candy galore, and there's all sorts of Christmas trinkets ready to be purchased. Purchase. Which brings us to the holiday season and the purchasing of things. Do you have a favorite firearm item or firearm related item that usually becomes available at in the holiday season? Let's be politically incorrect and call it Christmas time. You have any kind of item that if it was available in the old Sears catalog, you'd circle it and say, I want this.
Normally,
fold the page over and kind of leave it on the coffee table.
Yeah, normally
any sort of firearm related item that's traditionally associated with this time.
Yeah, normally optics. Optics are what I look at around Christmas time, because you can find sometimes through some of the online vendors, you can get a good deal because they'll run 15, 20% off, especially if it's a model that may be a year old in the production line and they want to make room for the next in the series. That's kind of where I think you'll get the biggest bang for the buck.
I'll tell you what I miss about Christmas time and the holiday shopping season is the little wood boxes of 22 long rifle, or the combination boxes. It would be maybe a 10 and 300 rounds of 22 long rifle and 50 round boxes and a pretty neat buck knife or something like that. I miss those little giveaways, and I hope that the ammo situation is remedied by Christmas time. And there's plenty of those little wood boxes, with 250 rounds of Winchester in it to be had. That's some of my favorite Christmas time shopping. The little packets like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the trinkets that go out, kind of we used to call them the crowd pleasers. You give them out to people when you're at trade shows or whatever. Some of those are actual nice stocking stuffers too.
Well, they're actually nice gifts to give. I mean, they're nice gifts to receive, and you've got a good buddy or something. What could be a better gift than 300 rounds of 22 long rifle, a neat little box that it comes in, and a pocket knife or a flashlight or something like that. It's something that every guy can use. I mean, throw it in your glove compartment, throw it in your console. Go out and shoot up your 300 rounds of 22. Vacuum pack it if that's your game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I've seen a couple of deals advertised in some of the big box stores lately, basically going, I think 400 or 440 rounds of 223 Remington for like $195.
That's a little bit close to about 50 cents a round right there.
Yeah. And the big thing is that they give you the free ammo can that they come in.
That sounds like a Cabela's deal. Cabela's has always given you the ammo can.
Yeah, and I think Gander Mountain and a couple of the other big boxes that are geared towards sporting goods do the same thing.
Cabela's usually always did it with an order of 500 rounds or more.
Right, you had to hit the predetermined number.
Usually center fire. If they did it with a long rifle or rimfire rounds, it was usually in the realm of 2,000 you had to buy. But I think the days of buying 2,000 rounds of rimfire are kind of gone for a little while until production kicks back up and demand ceases, or demand drops off.
And that's one of the things I've started to see in terms of ammo and calibers that are available right now. I've started to see a lot of advertisements for 22 Hornet, 17 HMR, some of the smaller centerfire cartridges, that are geared towards the precision shooters. I've started to see those come in.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know you were out of the picture for a while this was all going on, but during the rush of ammo, there always seemed to be a preponderance of the 17 uh, caliber rimfire ammunition, whether it was HMR or whatever the Mach 2,
Yeah.
whatever those were. There always seemed to be a lot of that, and I was never really interested in that. And I think people picked up a lot of those rifles that were sold during that time just because there was that ammo on the shelf and there was no 22 long rifle on the shelf. And I see in the used market that there are a lot of 17, whether they're HMR or Mach 2 rifles for sale. I see much more HMR than Mach 2, but the HMR is built on that 22 Magnum casing, and that's just 22 Magnum's a pricey item right now. I mean, you're looking at nearly 50 cents a round on some of those. By the way, CCI has a new 30 grain 22 Magnum that moves at 2,200 feet per second.
That's moving.
That is seriously moving. That's half the weight and very, very much near 5.56 velocity, isn't it?
Yeah, that's getting up there.
Yeah, that's a looks like a vest puncher or something right there.
Yeah.
That's a varmint destroyer.
Well, I was going to say, normally when you hear folks talk about 17 HMR, it's primarily to go out and either to do precision shooting or they're doing prairie dog town shoots. They're out somewhere.
Well,
they're in the Badlands of South Dakota.
That's not only it, because as we were speaking about earlier about the Christmas items, there's a retailer down here that I speak frequently, just because it's one of the major retailers down here, Academy, and usually they have a Heritage Arms 22 revolver that will go on sale like on Black Friday, and it'll be $109, $99 or something like that, and it's a 22 single action revolver, 6-shot old cowboy looking thing. Well, they make a lot of those in 17 now, and 17 HMR and 17 Mach 2. So it's not just the precision shooters and the guys shooting prairie dogs at 300 yards.
Oh, that's good to see that they're actually getting that versatility out there.
I don't know. I think it's a lost cause. That's a problem that doesn't need to be solved. That's a really, really high powered air gun. Right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Well, and then when you figure on the air gun side, some folks across the Atlantic over there in England, where their rights to own firearms are severely restricted, are basically shooting 50 caliber air guns.
Well, I'll tell you what. I just got a message from a good friend of mine who's currently in Mexico doing the Mexican thing, and she was at a sporting goods retailer or outside of a retailer. And she sent me a message asking me what this was, and it was a Mendoza rifle in 5.5 millimeter Scorpion, and the price on the translation came out to be $250. So I had to do a little bit of searching, because I know that there are some Mexican military rifles named Mondragon, and those were very, very well-made rifles and very serviceable rifles. And if you've got one, you've got a collector's item, and hold on to it. But I was not familiar with Mendoza rifles. Well, it turns out that Mendoza rifles are very similar to BSA air rifles. And it was just quite shocking to me that an air rifle's running $250.
Oh, yeah.
In Mexico right now.
Yeah, I remember back in the days where you could go into Kmart and pick up an air rifle for $70, $80 tops.
Oh, I remember going into stores and being able to get an air rifle for $30.
Well, yeah, but you are considerably older than I am.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and play the age card.
Hey, you got to use it while you got it.
Yeah, you use it while you can, young one.
That's it.
It's evaporating fast.
That's it. It's one of those things. I had a conversation with someone today, and it was like, yeah, how old are those kids that are coming into the Army nowadays? And most of them were born in 94 or 95, and now I'm sitting there just going, oh my God.
95. That's a long time ago, man.
Oh yeah. That's
a long time ago. That's a bell ringer for me right there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the first time I heard that age come up, I was like, man, it's time for me to go.
Oh yeah, yeah. You need to retire. You need to get into another field of business. Perhaps you could be an advisor on 22 ammunition purchasing.
Well, that may be a good idea, except I have a feeling that if it was to do anything with the government, they tried to send me to Africa to do that with, the effort to stop the Ebolas.
I would I would hate to see you purchasing 22 long rifle to stop the Ebola crisis, which actually, looking at the symptoms of Ebola, appears to be a reliable remedy.
Yeah, yeah, you,
I mean, it appears to work. Remember, do not eat fruit bats or play in the blood or excrement of Ebola victims.
yeah. If you ever thought
This has
about it,
been your UCY.TV Ebola update. Do not touch it.
that was a
It's
public
not
service
yours.
announcement.
Don't get it in your mouth.
Yeah. Uh, so, have you had a chance to do any kind of buying, selling, trading, anything like that in terms of firearms?
Well, I'll tell you what. I actually did a little bit today. I got a buddy who is in the process of having a baby and that kind of stuff, and moving and getting himself into a better place in life, and being ready to enjoy the family thing. So he's moving, and he's moving from a very, very nice area that he was. And he's not moving into a necessarily worse area. It's just a new area to him. And I hooked the boy up with a safe that I had. And it wasn't a super expensive safe, but gave us a chance to talk about things and possibly set up a trade on a couple other items here coming up in a while. Because as we've established firmly, the only precious metals are not gold, silver. Brass, lead, copper, and walnut turn into, and actually as it comes down now, black polymer is money.
It is. It's not even a precious metal.
Black polymer is at $550 for a Glock. Black polymer is a precious metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what. For our listeners out there, I was able to go ahead and work out a trade today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it actually. I was able to get rid of some Tapco products, and
awesome. That is the best news of the week. You are our hero. You are the PrimerTime winner of the week, and we're going to award you a lot of internet points.
That sounds good because I can use all I can get. But I was able to offload a Tapco set of the fore end, a pistol grip in the saw style from the M249, and then the 6-position commercial buttstock. And what I got for it in return was significantly better than what I gave up. So,
well, there's always a plus to doing your research and knowing what you're getting into versus knowing what you have, and there's a plus to what did Kenny Rogers say? You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
yeah,
Know when to walk away and know when to run.
Yeah.
You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
That's right. Did you know that Kenny Rogers was a horrible poker player?
But I'll tell you what, he makes some seriously good cornbread.
There you go. So yeah. Anyways, I was going to tell you, Michael. I was able to pick up 3 rear sights in the flip-up variety, basically another 6-position stock in the black color instead of the flat dark earth, and basically an entire bolt carrier group minus the firing pin retaining pin.
Now, how much work is it to replace a firing pin and the retaining pin?
Well, just the retaining pin is all I'm missing. The firing pin is present. I think it's maybe 99 cents on Midway USA. It is not an expensive piece.
All right, so that's something that you should purchase while you purchase other things, as to you not occurring $8.99 of shipping.
Yeah, well, certainly. Yeah, I think, I just did a quick search on the net and came up with from Brownells $2.39.
Now, let me ask you this, because you are much more of an AR-15 or M4, M16, American battle rifle kind of guy. than I am, even though I'm learning and I'm getting into it um, begrudgingly. But what's the availability of that retaining pin at your local gun shop?
It depends on if they actually specialize in doing stuff for AR-15s. If they don't maintain the stock on hand, it's going to be something that they've got to order. You're going to see certain businesses that have found their niche in catering to the crowd that wants the AR-15s, vice the folks who just want, the regular hunting rounds.
Would you have an idea if it's available at your local gun shop?
I'm going to say at my local gun shop, no, that they would probably have to order that. So it just makes as much sense to
Unfortunately,
buy
I'm
it.
going to have to say I'm going to have to agree with you and say that my local gun shop probably wouldn't have that either. Although there is another one that's recently opened up in my area, and I'm actually going to go in and have a yap with the old boy and probably buy some ammo from him, and hell, we might even get him on the show.
Yeah, that's a good deal. We would always love to have some, customer reviews.
Well, it's he's a retailer and he's got the idea on the business, and he's been a consumer all his life, I'm sure, just like every one of us. So I mean, he sees a market and he sees what's there and he sees what's not there, and obviously if he's opened up a business, he sees that there's growth in it. So
That's right. Yeah, certainly. You're gonna want to be able to put a product out there that either is going to be consumed and for more of a price than what you bought for it, or you're just not going to include that in your business model.
well, I've purchased from his store before, and I've actually found him to be, in the term of the local gun shop colloquialism, the entire stereotype of. I found his prices to be entirely fair, and I mean, especially for me not having to drive 40 miles more to go get the same thing for a dollar or two less, minus the time and the gas and sitting in the Chevy and all that kind of stuff. Uh, I found him to be fine, price wise, and I think he's been helpful in any kind of questions I've asked him, and he's hasn't like eyeballed me like I was gonna shoplift. So I'm pretty happy with the guy.
Yeah, that's a good deal. You can't beat that in most days. Hey, any day you don't
I
get looked at as a
do not
criminal is a
support
good day.
profiling. I do not support profiling
Yeah,
unless you look like a criminal.
exactly. Yeah, so just on the front sight alone, one of the three rear sights that I picked up is coming from a company called Diamond Head, and this,
Diamond, nice
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it is, and it's almost like an HK style sight. It is a flip up, so I can go ahead and either co-witness it to another optic, or I can get like a red dot and have it go point to point on that. But
Now
the
that's got some serious advantages over the Magpul that everybody's intimately familiar with in the AR-15 world. This is machined.
Yeah, this is all steel construction. And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't necessarily know when they're talking about the Magpul series, especially the Embus Generation 2, so the Magpul backup sight, there's actually a lesser quality that is meant specifically for police training and simulation. So folks who do airsoft, just police departments that are
No,
trying to outfit.
that's now wait up. Now wait up. This is not an actual Magpul product because Magpul stands behind their products 100% and everything meets their standards.
Right.
What you see is a large number of counterfeit items that look exactly like Magpul things.
Right. And what you're going to hear and what you're going to see is uh, there's a branded set of backup sites called PTS, and those are not quality at all. And they are, from what I can find on the research that I've been doing on the internet, they are made in China and they are knockoffs. And they are all over your online auction sites, and buyer beware. You go out there and you buy that and you think you got a screaming deal. You're going to attach that to your firearm. You're going to fire some boxes of ammo, and then all of a sudden that's going to be melted to your rails. That's something that is definitely what you want to look out for.
No matter your green intent, if your backup sights are made out of melted milk carton, you're no longer in the fight.
Certainly.
Yeah, and I mean, I fully believe myself in the buy once, cry once adage. I mean, look, I got a specific spot in my heart for the Browning High Power. That is not a cheap pistol.
No.
And I'm not bragging about it or anything. I just find that pistol to be probably the finest pistol ever made. It fits my hand exquisitely, like nothing else. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not OJ. The glove does fit. Yeah.
So you would be convicted.
I acquit me because this thing's going to take me out of the courtroom.
Yeah.
It's a very, very nice pistol, and I mean, there's a world. There's 70 years of upgrades for this pistol. There's 70 years of aftermarket product for it.
No, and not necessarily that. I mean, you're looking at 70 years of product refinement. Any time since that pistol has been in service with various militaries around the world, it's been modified to meet those nations' individual needs.
Not just 70 years of product refinement; it's 70 years of performance.
Oh, certainly.
Well, it's got its own storied history. I mean, we look at if we take it to its original iteration, it's the GP35, which means the pistol of grande puissance, which in French
is high power.
We'll have to check. That's right. We'll have to check with our buddies in French Canada out there because they speak the language better than we do. But that's what they're telling us on the internet these days.
Yeah.
All right. So that came into service in 1939. And it was actually ordered by the French originally, but they turned it down and went with that MAB 35 pistol, which I think it held 9 rounds of 9mm and wasn't spectacular by any means. I mean, it's a serviceable pistol. I mean, if you were stuck on a desert island, it'd be better than having a sharpened coconut.
Yeah, sharp stick.
Harsh words. Stop, Ubongo, stop. But, I mean, the high power, the pistol of Grand Puissance 1935, GP35, whatever you want to call it, holds a lot of distinctions. I mean, it was the only pistol issued by both sides during World War II.
Right.
Makes you wonder about, the money on that end, but obviously it's a sound design. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It sounded like you dropped off for a second.
No. Obviously, it's a pistol of sound design, and that's what works for me.
Oh, and I think that's the biggest thing is that we've said it time and time again. You got to find that firearm which fits your hand, which you're comfortable with, and basically which meets the needs of what you want to use it for. Some folks are perfectly comfortable with a .22 revolver because the sound that it makes is terrifying to people that are standing off to the sides, and that's all they need.
That's usually people that have only shot less than 50 rounds. Well, now let's expand our criteria to people who have shot, say, 200 rounds or more. Spend an extended period at a range. What would you consider to be items that you would find desirable in a weapon? And you've got a modicum of experience. You're not just there to make firecrackers pop out of your hands anymore.
Yeah, no.
You realize exactly what's going on.
Right, and I think the first thing that anybody that really will invest in the shooting sports, the first thing that they're going to want is consistent performance. Because if you have consistent performance of the equipment or the ammunition, you're going to be able to make adjustments and make corrections, and you won't have to be all over the place. Trying to figure out things to troubleshoot to get your weapon to do what it's designed to do.
Right. Now, in the idea of being able to troubleshoot your weapon into making it hit your desired target area, you also have to realize what are your ranges that you're thinking about operating within.
Right, and once again, that kind of goes with the ammunition that you're using. and or the weapon system that it's designed to operate out of.
I would think that it would depend much more on the weapon system than it would be on the ammunition. I would think that somebody chooses a 2-inch barreled, let's just say a Smith and Wesson revolver for a choice, 2-inch barrel 38 special, non plus P, just a standard, back in the day $400 snub nose revolver. They have a much shorter range anticipation than somebody who lives where I live.
Right.
I got to be able to at least 50 yards.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, most of the ammunition that's manufactured has something that's called the most recommended distance, and we've talked about it before. You may have a desire to have all of your weapons sighted in at 100 meters or 100 yards because you want to know that when you have a known distance of 100 meters that your round is impacting dead center. I kind of look at it the other way. I look at the natural arc of that projectile. I want to know when it's at the top of its arc, the apogee, and that's where I want that weapon centered at. So I know that for whatever weapon that I'm firing, it may not be the same distance, but I'm going to go ahead and have consistent performance shooting that same type of ammo through that same weapon. And one of the things that is probably the biggest tip that I can give our listeners is that whenever you find a projectile or a brand of ammunition that fires consistently from your rifle and you get that sighted in, do not change. Stay consistent with that. Make it the favorite thing to feed that rifle.
Oh, I agree with you. If you find a load that works for you, buy it and spend the money.
Yeah, certainly.
That's something that's absolutely worth it. If that works for you, because that's insurance that you only pay for once.
Right. And what you could even do more than that is if you're into the hand loading aspect of things, you can actually doctor up your own, your own preferred round that's consistent with the reloading manuals that are out there. And, you'll have within operating, safe operating ranges, and you can custom manufacture your own ammunition that you were the quality control on, and you can get the same as out of the box performance from a big box manufacturer that probably would take people a long time to duplicate if they had the same equipment and same materials as those manufacturers.
That takes a specific set of skills and a good period of training. That's not something that you can learn off of a couple of YouTube videos. So everybody out there, take care when you're playing with ammunition. Otherwise, I would suggest that for most people, stick with what's available commercially loaded.
Yeah, certainly, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people that they have this idea that if I begin reloading, I'm going to save all kinds of money, and I think it's important to dispel that myth right off the bat.
Well, there's a significant investment.
Well, there is, and like I said, you don't have to go out and get yourself a progressive reloading kit that does everything in one step. Every time you press the handle, you're getting a whole series of actions done. You can go from the very inexpensive Lee Loader series that was real popular in the 60s and 70s, all the way up to a progressive system that's on a conveyor and does everything for you, to include a set powder charge and popping primers and reinstalling primers. You can do that. There's a lot of different areas there where you can invest. But one of the things I think is real important to understand is that if you do make the decision to go ahead and start reloading, is that you're going to spend a lot of money initially to get started, but what you will be able to do is really create a custom built round for your own purposes based on what you want to do, and you're going to be able to do a lot more of it. You can go to any one of the online manufacturers or the retailers and say, hey, I need to buy 1,000 bullets in this caliber, and you're getting the copper jacketed piece of lead, But
Well,
the thing is,
in 9mm, if you were going to purchase that, and you got a relatively decent price, you would get 115 grain full metal jacket. It may be exposed lead core at the end. It may be total metal jacket. Usually not total metal jacket. It'll just be full metal jacket. 115 grain Plinken ammo for about $359 for 1,000 rounds.
yeah. And if you were going to buy that same 1,000 rounds all ready to go, you're going to spend significantly more than that.
Well, $359 ready to go, shipped to your door. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
$359 plus shipping to your door.
Yeah.
So let's say
Yeah.
you're looking at $375 by the time UPS guy
drops it off at your doorstep and runs away.
Yeah, you know, bothers your dogs and, you know, drives over your flowers.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've looked at over time is there are certain calibers that are in the States that are standbys. 308 Winchester will most likely be around for a long time, specifically due to the NATO application and our military's acceptance of that round. 30-06, 30-30, those type of rounds.
That's an American classic.
Right, exactly.
That's an American classic. That takes any piece of game on the North American continent and probably takes a large number of dinner foods.
Right, exactly. And you're gonna see some of those guys that maybe have been to Japan or maybe been to Europe during World War II, and they came back with some really unique metric caliber rounds. The Japanese had I think it was a 7.65. The Germans had a 7.92.
Oh, they had 7.7, they had 7.8, they had 7.92, they had 8.5, they had 8.2. The Japanese were they were masters of the new caliber that was totally incompatible with anything else.
Right, yeah. and that's one of the things that kind of led to their
downfall as well. They had one of each bullet.
Right. Well, I think that reloading probably will even save those guys the ability to use those firearms. Instead of making them wall hangers, said hey, I used this way back in the day. They can actually still get some enjoyment out of being able to do it if they have the dies.
I think that's almost a windmill to tilt at. I don't think that's even feasible. I mean, we're in the day, and you and I have to truly appreciate this, that we're seeing people in the generation below us and the generation and a half below us that would not be able to change a tire.
Oh, certainly. Nor their oil.
Oh, would they be able to drive a standard transmission? Oh,
that's because it's not even being made anymore.
Well, it's an option. It is an option.
Yeah, it is.
And as we speak of options, let me hit on something really quick. There's something that is not an option, and that's safety with firearms. And I know it's a horrible transition, but I had to grab it because I truly believe in it, Nick. There's 4 rules of firearm safety, and people, you got to know them before you get out there and play with them. And the first rule of firearm safety is every firearm is loaded until you verify that it is not loaded. That means you have to bust it open, you have to check it, you have to take the magazine out, open up that action, crack that bolt back, crack that single shot shotgun open, and make sure that there's not a bullet or a shell in the chamber. Nick, you know what number 2 is, right?
Oh, yeah. Always, always, always keep your weapon pointed in a safe direction. Know what is beyond your target.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's 2 and 3 right there. Keep that weapon in a safe direction. Do not point it at anything that you do not wish to destroy. And you jump right into number 3. Know what your target is and know what is beyond your target. You don't always hit. Sometimes you miss. Do not, set up your pop can in front of a middle school and start plinking, and then, don't put that video on YouTube. Jesus H. Christ, don't do that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the reason why I go into them, they're complementary to each other. And for me, they're just second nature.
It should be a single fluid motion. And when it comes down to it, if muscle memory means anything to anybody, it's Do not put your booger hook on the bang switch until you are ready to fire the weapon. Do not discharge nothing inadvertently. There are no accidental discharges. There are negligent discharges because you put your big fat finger on the trigger and pulled it.
Certainly, and you know, the recent history is rife with examples of people that are in the business of having to deal with arms, and they just go ahead and disregard that rule.
I think we should, at some point, we should find the video of the ATF agent with his Glock Fode, and we should play that video at some point. But we don't have it right now. We can't play it. But just remember the Glock Fode. The Glock Fode is the most dangerous weapon on the face of the earth.
Yeah, well, you got to remember, he is the only person qualified to handle that weapon.
You know what really cracked me up is after he like sent that, it was probably a Hydra shock, sent it right through his kneecap. You know, I've got a little bit of medical training, and where that bullet probably entered his leg was not in a good spot.
Oh, certainly.
It was going to lead to damage, and knowing that, you know, he was probably he had a Glock Fode. All right, so that gives you a federal Hydra shock running probably a 185 grain hollow point with like kind of a little ballistic tip in there to ensure, you know, maximum spread of the pedals. After that, when he picked up the 12 gauge, the little kids in the class said, "No, don't do it." That was the best part of the video. Please. No, don't do it.
It makes me wonder if he was in fact an operative for the other side trying to take one for the team.
I don't know, but he definitely took one. I don't know if it was for the team, but he took one.
Well, I mean, when you think about it,
he gave himself one. It was
what better way to ensure that?
In the end, it was rather selfish. He didn't think of the children. That's for goddamn sure.
Well, and that's the thing, you know. At what point, if he was really doing this to get the kids turned against firearm ownership? I mean, if that was his point, he succeeded.
He did a good job.
He succeeded.
How much? All right, so like, let's say that this dude's an operative, and you know, this is a a Brady campaign or a Moms Against Handgun kind of like subversive guy who's getting in and getting shot, offering to like have people shoot. How much would you have to be paid to shoot yourself in the leg to like work for the other side? I mean, how much money is that?
I don't think that. I don't think my conscience is going to allow me to do that.
All right. Well, you know, but you're a fine, upstanding young man, and I think you'll do. But you know, let's say you're not that guy. What does it cost to take and put a bullet from a Glock Fode right through your thigh, you know, probably through your kneecap and exiting somewhere out the bottom half of your calf? What does that cost?
I don't know, but I've heard people say that a few minutes of pain and discomfort is worth $100,000. And I don't think that there's any kind of pain that's worth $100,000 for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, dude. Back in the day when we were kids, there was a whole bunch of people that fought Mike Tyson for about 37 seconds and got like $6 million.
Yeah, but they had also been getting beat about the head for years.
I'm gonna have to attribute the drop in the funding to, you know, from the $6 million to getting beat by Mike Tyson to the, you know, however much what does a DEA agent with a Glock Fode get paid? You know, maybe $115,000, $120,000 a year. I'm gonna have to attribute the drop to inflation.
Yeah,
price of putting yourself. Look, there's a lot of people who shoot themselves for cheap.
Yeah. Well, we're speaking of shooting yourselves for cheap. What was the count on the folks in Chicago who were trying to do their best to control the city's population?
Chicago didn't register in my view this weekend because Chicago is Chicago, man. I ain't gonna change it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just waiting to hear where the outrage is.
I mean, I think the outrage is my silence right now. The outrage is my silence because I mean, how much outrage really can I have over, you know, kids who don't get who don't deserve to get shot, that are shot on a weekly basis, and then the police chief comes out and like screams about, Grandpa who got a shotgun in his closet.
Yeah, and turned him in for it too.
Well, that grandpa's a fool.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody should have been, taking care of business and teaching his kids about the proper way to handle firearms, so that way they didn't have to rely on their teachers at school telling them that anybody that has them is a felon.
Well, maybe we're going to have to, amend the 4 rules of firearm safety to include that thou shalt not commit drive-by murders in Chicago. Maybe that could be like the 5th rule of gun safety or something.
Well, how
you
about
should not shoot small children eating lollipops at 3 a.m. in the park in Chicago.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, it's interesting now because
I'm
waiting.
Forbid that we start like some sort of law that prohibits like small children eating lollipops in the park at 3 a.m. or there's no public outrage over personal responsibility about having your child eat lollipops in the park at 3 a.m. because at 3 a.m. what is your child doing?
Well, my child will be asleep in the bed, and I mean. And I think that when you're talking about Chicago, most of those kids are.
Well, no, that's what's happening. The shootings in Chicago are at the park at 4 a.m.
Oh, well, yeah, but when we're talking about kids,
7-year-olds and a grandma.
Yeah,
it's 4 7 grandma that are the victim of the shooting at the park at 4 a.m. So at some point we have to realize that the inanimate object is not the problem. It's the people that surround the inanimate object.
No, certainly. It's the individual making the conscious decision.
There's a culture that says that, having your child in the park at 4 a.m. eating lollipops.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
That's contrary to my thinking.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think that if law enforcement was able to get convictions for people who were involved in these shootings, and then we're able to get a number of years tacked on. You choose the number of years for every round of ammunition that was used in the commission of a crime. You would start to see some folks taking notice.
But there are already laws on the books. There's already laws on the books, and I'll give a personal experience. I was broken into a number of years ago, and several firearms were stolen from my house and some ammunition at that time. And it was recovered, and I thank the sheriff's department. They did a bang-up job on it, and the perpetrator was caught. And I'll tell you what, he was a young felon because he was already convicted of a felony, and he was out on parole.
Right.
And now he's got, in the state of Texas, he's got burglary of a habitation and possession of 12 firearms
by a felon,
and theft of 12 firearms by a felon, and theft of 12 firearms from a habited
dwelling
residence.
Yeah.
All right. Now that's enough to put you underneath the stone and have me park the Chevy. That's exactly what the law says in Texas. This kid got 3 months, and he was out. And I'm not going to cast aspersions on anything, but it was because he was stone broke poor, and there was nothing more the system could milk him for. And all he was the $86 to the prison.
Yeah, of course.
And to be honest with you, I think this guy is enough of a jackass that he probably cost the prison system more than the $86 that they received from the state.
Oh, I'm sure. But I think that's one of the things as responsible firearms owners got to be aware of, is that I'll pose a question to you. What do you think about the individual responsibility to have insurance on your firearms?
I don't believe in a responsibility to have insurance because I view insurance as a scam.
Okay.
I think you've got the option to buy insurance. I believe that insurance is mandated, it becomes extortion. And especially insurance that is enforced with a penalty. If you do not comply with the insurance, it now becomes extortion. There's nothing more akin to, Jimmy Bag of Donuts walking into the liquor store and saying, I got a nice liquor store here, and I'd be ashamed that if it burnt, but you give me $300 a month, I make sure it don't burn.
Right.
That's exactly what insurance is to me. So insurance is not an option. I think if you option to buy insurance, that's fine, but there is no line in our Constitution or the Bill of Rights or in the minds of the forefathers that says, well, maybe people should insure themselves, because I am not giving up any goddamn rights that I've got to a corporation.
Well, certainly, but I mean, when it comes
And
down to,
remember, in the words of Mitt Romney, corporations are people, my friend.
oh, that's not just him. That's the Supreme Court of the United States affirming that.
Yeah, but he was more than happy to spread it to
Yeah.
the common folk, to the
Yeah.
common folk.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is my firearms are an investment. I mean, that's the way that I look at it, because by the time it's all said and done, I will either A, pass them back down to my children, or I will sell them for whatever I think is an appropriate amount for me to let them go. In the meantime, as they're a piece of property, um, I'm actually going to protect that investment. And the best way that I've seen to do it is actually through the broker that I go through for my insurance. I actually get some pretty decent rates, and that's just one. I'm not looking at it as something that's being told, "Hey, you got to do this." I'm looking at it
I
from the
understand
aspect
that
of
you
doing it
live
for
in a
my own.
completely different you live in a different area than I do, and you have different life concerns than I do, and I understand that. I personally don't follow that. My concerns about protecting my weapons are to keep them covered in gear oil.
There you go. Keep them in Cosmoline, folks.
No, that's what I say. Keep them in Cosmoline and keep your doors locked. Know your neighbors.
Yep, certainly know your neighbors, because I'll tell
Uh,
you what.
if,
There's a case out here right now, and there's a missing university student, and sure enough, they have an idea of the guy who it is, and neighbors didn't say a word. So know your neighbors.
well, know your neighbors, and I mean, I'm not uh, espousing or avowing the see something, say something mentality, but be aware. Be aware. Not everybody's a good guy, and stay away from that big white van that says free candy on the side.
Yeah, yeah, certainly.
I mean,
But
seriously,
if you see the big
use some
van that
common
says
sense.
free ammunition, you let me know.
You let me know. I'm going to bring a couple of friends.
Yep,
We'll meet.
certainly.
Yeah,
And
that CCI fan ain't showed up in my neighborhood yet. We'd have taken him already.
I'll tell you what. So yeah, do you have anything that you're going to try and do between now and next week's primer time in terms of looking for firearms?
Well, I'll tell you what. I got a trade that I may be coming across, and if that happens, I'll be sure to report on that. And I think it'd be a decent trade on both our halves.
Well,
I
that's
think
not
the
very
guy.
profitable for you.
Well, but that's not where I'm at. I'm not into like seeking maximum profit on this. I mean, this is something I enjoy, and to be honest with you, if I can get somebody started into this and they bring a lifelong love of this and they want to share it with their kids or something and they're responsible, I don't mind taking a small hit on it. And to be on this trade coming up, I don't think I'm taking a hit on it. I really don't. And I feel good about it. I mean, I don't think value has to be, looked at in the dollar sense. I think it has to be, if you've got something that's been, it may be expensive, but you've never used it and it's just sitting there getting in your way, trade it off for something that you may use. You might lose a couple $100 on the blue book value, but you know what? There ain't no blue book for guns.
Yeah, certainly, and it's all based on what the individual's willing to pay.
And I'll tell you what, let me just say this right now. Anybody who claims that they have consulted the blue book value for guns, they consulted a book, but it wasn't the blue book. It was the Kama Sutra.
There you go.
I'm telling you that right now. And there's 1,001 positions to screw you in values of guns. So
right.
Educate yourself, be awake. UCY.TV, you can't beat this.
Yep. Thanks, Jules. Thanks for having us.
Nick, it was wonderful to speak with you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. Be safe. Get out and shoot this week.
Yeah, definitely take advantage of the upcoming weather and the lessening hours.
That's right, everybody, and be safe out there. Thanks a lot, Nick. I think we're gonna have to drop off right here because we're not getting our exit song.
Our
So
bumper